Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Talk with Coach. I'm your host, Becca Goldsberry, Elite Sales and Leadership Coach with Southwestern Consulting. This podcast is all about learning from the best in the business, those who have walked the walk and are ready to share their journeys, lessons, and hard-earned wisdom. I'm excited to introduce today's guest, Karen Sarmento. We've actually had the pleasure of connecting through Women Thrive Summit, and I cannot wait for her to share her insight and expertise with you guys. Karen is a seasoned nurse practitioner with over 19 years of experience and is the CEO of Sarmiento Mentoring Services, LLC. As a Proctor Gallagher certified success strategist, she specializes in empowering high achieving women who have met society standards of success but feel unfulfilled and disconnected. Karen guides them through rediscovering their true purpose, redefining what success truly means to them, and creating a life and legacy that are meaningful. Karen's personalized and transformative strategies enable women to break free from feeling stuck, to embrace their authenticity, and live purpose driven lives. Having served thousands throughout her career, Karen combines her extensive clinical expertise with insights gained from world class mentors to deeply understand the science of human behavior and the principles that foster lasting change. With her guidance, we will uncover today your limitless potential and create a legacy that you are proud of. So, welcome to Talk with Coach Karen. I'm so excited to be here with you today.
Oh, thanks for having me. I was looking forward to this. I'm really excited.
I know. Because you and I had such a great time when I was on your podcast, and I was just looking so forward to, just spending more time with you today.
Thank you. I felt the same.
Awesome. So I know we met through Women Thrive Summit.
Mhm.
How's it coming with your talk? How are you doing with it?
Amazing. What a journey it is. Honestly,
Isn't
I
it?
mean, yes, it is how I don't know, you sign up for one thing and it just expands into something else. And kind of similarly to life, it just takes you down different paths and unexpected opportunities and just being open to the way it's all kind of unfolding. But it's coming along really nicely. I'm looking forward to the summit in March.
I know. It's going to be, you guys, Women Thrive Summit. It's going to be March 17th through the 21st. And there are some incredible speakers, Karen and I included. So you guys will definitely have to be checking that out and looking for us. But Karen, I would love for you to share with everybody, how did you go from being a nurse practitioner
Mhm.
to starting your own coaching business where you're really helping women who they've accomplished a lot in life. Like these are very successful women, but yet they might feel unfulfilled or they don't know what to do next. How did you transition to that? I would love for you to share your story on that.
Yes. It's still a bit of a work in progress. And, as you know, we're always growing. But I think my sort of transition into my own company or into the entrepreneur role started probably around 8 years ago, when I was trying to overcome some challenges in my life that snuck up on me, and I just did not handle them very well. So I hit a real dark space where I was drinking too much and I was just not showing up. So as I kind of started to look at myself, I realized I hadn't been showing up for a while, even before I really got the wake up call. But I had the degrees, I had the relationship, I had what everything looked like I should have, or what I was supposed to have by societal norms, and yet something was still off. And so when my son's father passed very unexpectedly, that was like my big wake up call that, wow, I've got to do something differently because I did not handle that well. And as I started down the personal development road, I just realized I really hadn't been living in a way that was true to myself. And I really wasn't showing up in a way that was true to myself. It was always about people pleasing. It was about getting another degree, getting another certification. If I get that, then I'll be good. Then I'll be happy. That'll make me worthy. If I do this, then it was always something else. And it was always external. It wasn't coming from inside. So when I realized everything was already within me, I had to really sit with that because that meant I was the creator of everything outside of me, the good and the bad. And although that's empowering and that's great, at first it's kind of like, because you really have to take accountability for all your results. So with that, back to your original question, I was working as a nurse practitioner, and it's a great job, great role. But the medical care, it's really changed a lot over time. And I love the patients, I love the role, but I didn't feel like I was making a big difference anymore in patients' lives. I felt like I was on a treadmill of seeing patients in and out, in and out. And I wanted more than that. I like to connect with people. I like to know people. And it felt like there just wasn't even time for that. So little by little, I started coaching on the side. And then I loved that. Little by little, I felt like, wow, that's what lights me up. And that's what fuels me. Because over time, you realize when you're in tune or when you're aware of yourself, you start to figure out what things fuel you and what things drain you. And coaching other women fueled me. That I thoroughly just loved. So I, little by little, started to pursue it more and more. And then I opened my own company last year. And it's been a lot of ups and downs, but overall exciting and fun and fulfilling.
There was something that you mentioned a couple minutes ago where you were talking about, having this and meeting society standards and all of those things, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, there's something that we always talk about with our coaching clients. A lot of times, and you mentioned it, people always think in this terms of have, be, do. I have to have this to be happy, and then I can do this, right? And it should be backwards. It should be, do, have. I'm being happy, and me being happy and fulfilled. I get to do the fun things that I love, and then I'm going to have the success, the fulfillment, right? So a lot of times it's just people have the thinking backwards. And so to have these things, then I can do all these things. No, we need to be happy, be fulfilled, find the things that make us whole. And then when you do that, it's amazing and all the fun things that can unfold and unfold in life.
Yes, I completely agree with that. We have to be exactly what it is we want, even before you have it. When you really become aware of what it is you want, start being that person now, because we get stuck in these little comfort zones, which we think are comfortable and safe, whether they serve us or not. But it's only because it's comfortable that we stay there. But the good stuff is when you step outside of your comfort zone and do things that are scary, which can be just that, the being something different than you are right now.
Absolutely. And I'm sure you see this with your clients too, right? You see how, these women, they're scared to go outside the norm, to go outside the box because being inside the box has given them success, maybe up to a certain point, but they're scared to go outside the box. But then when they realize once you go outside those parameters, man, true success can really happen.
It's so liberating and it's scary, and that's okay. It's okay when it feels scary to do something new or to show up in a way that's unexpected, where people go, like maybe you're worried what your family's going to think when you show up to the family function dressed differently, or work showing up in a more empowered way.
Mhm.
It's important to know that other people's opinions don't have to matter. And I don't mean that in a disrespectful way, but you have to show up in a way that serves yourself first.
Do you see in maybe clients, friends, your family, circle of influence, do you see where people are struggling with authenticity? How to be them true selves right now?
Absolutely. I think it's one of the most common things that I see women struggling with, showing
Mm,
up because they're so conditioned to show up in a certain way and to not deviate from that, and not to deviate from what's expected by the family, the for whatever, the circle of friends. And showing up authentically means showing up in a way that I'm not perfect. And although we
mhm.
kind of know nobody is, for some reason, we feel like we need to show up in a way of that we're perfect, like we're the epitome of perfection, and that if we're not, then we're alone. And I
Mm.
think when you realize that we're all on this journey and nobody's perfect, we don't feel the as much fear about being found out. Like we're afraid people are going to find out I'm not perfect.
Right? It's almost like a secret, like, shh, don't let anybody know I'm not perfect, right? Like, it's like and it, for women, especially if you're a mom, a wife, a partner, a spouse, a leader in a business, like, it's almost like not being perfect is infallible.
Right.
And I'm like, no, we don't have to have the big S on our chest for, being super mom or superwoman. I mean, we don't need to be that way. I was actually having a conversation with one of my friends about humility,
Mm-hmm.
and we had a really fun conversation about integrity is key, but with that also comes humility. Like, in not being perfect, it's okay, own it, be humble, because we do make mistakes, own
Mm-hmm.
up to those mistakes. And I find when we do that, or especially if I make a mistake and I own it,
Mm-hmm.
um, there's oftentimes more forgiveness, more understanding from people, more sincerity, deeper connections and relationships. So for me, I'm learning this, in my mid 40s here, learning that it is okay to make mistakes. It is okay to tell people my weaknesses, because sometimes they can actually help me be better in the areas I may be weak.
Yes, I love that. I absolutely love that. And I noticed it too with my son, that when we own our mistakes, it gives them permission to
Mm,
make mistakes, but also to own the mistakes. And that's where we
mm,
grow. It's through my mistakes, or what I would have considered at one time failures,
mm.
that I really grew, because you move through it.
How do you help your clients do that? What are some tips, some ideas, some strategies that you help some of your clients to be able to do just that?
Mm-hmm. It starts with helping them to become aware, and kind of get out of that Groundhog Day cycle of meaningless tasks and to do lists and just going through the motions of every day. So stopping to really take a look around, take a look at where your life is, good, bad, or indifferent, and
Mhm.
owning it, acknowledging it, and then saying from here on, I take control of my life and my results, good or bad. And once you're aware of that and tuning in, you start to tune into what fuels you, as I said earlier, and what things drain you, and starting to eliminate some of the things that drain you to the best of your ability. I mean, some things can't be eliminated, but
Right.
making it harder to access the things that drain you and easier to access the things that fuel you, which I think is great because you're kind of making your life set up in a way for success. And then getting a clear picture on what it is you want, because we get stuck in these roles that we feel obligated to stay in, but anything's possible. And when you get a clear vision on really what you want it to look like, you start to show up differently. And you have to be willing to show up differently because it requires a different identity. And I think that requires a little bit of work, but you can have fun with that, making a
Mm-hmm.
clear picture of who you want to be. Who do I need to be to have X, Y, and Z? And write it down. I think journaling to get thoughts on paper, where I am now, where I want to be, who do I need to be, those kinds of things. So you get a clear picture on how I need to show up.
Oh, I love that. So many good takeaways there. One of the ones I want to ask you about
Yeah.
is you mentioned things that drain us.
Mm-hmm.
What are you seeing, just so people can be aware? What are you seeing from your clients, from the people you talk to? What as a norm, or maybe some, I guess, um, habits?
Mm-hmm.
What are you seeing that are draining people so they can be aware of them?
That's such a good question. It's such an important question because often people don't even realize that something's draining them. What I find drains people, women particularly, is people pleasing. So doing things even when they don't want to do them,
Hmm.
saying yes to anything that they really didn't want to do, agreeing to do um, any kind of an event that they really don't want to be at. I think saying yes to something when you really didn't want to do that, it leads to resentment, which is very heavy and very draining. And the other thing, some of it's self-imposed, feeling the responsibility to take care of somebody else when they weren't asking or they weren't even asking for assistance, but we feel responsible for more than we actually are responsible for. Some of the other things that are draining, I think women tend to be put everybody first and don't make time to take care of themselves and don't see that as a necessity. So if you're tired, you need to take a moment to rest versus go, go, go because someone else needs me. Because in the end, you don't end up showing up as powerfully as you could if you had just taken a moment to honor yourself.
And I think we've all done that.
Mm-hmm.
Our self care wasn't where we needed it to be. As a mom, especially maybe with younger kids, like when Thad was younger, toddlers are very busy little humans and growing. So a lot of times I found myself just being just exhausted at the end of the day. And so now my husband and I, we have this great balance of like, okay, he knows when I'm tired, he knows when he needs to rest, right? So I think open communication can really help with some of those things with our loved ones, our kids, our husbands, our wives, our spouse, our partners.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that can help so much with some of that because we can't take it all on. You know, and my mom took care of my grandparents as they were aging, right? That's a whole nother, a lot of the baby boomers are now taking care of their parents because they're aging. And it's very taxing on relationships and energy. You mentioned so many good things to keep an eye out open. I know like I had a call with my coach yesterday and he asked me, he goes, okay, so what are some of the things you need to say no to next year?
I love that.
And, and because he was just like, all right, your balance wise, what do you need to say no to? So I want to, anybody who's listening to this is your action item, right? In
Oh, I love
2025, what do you need to say no to? I mean, you just brought it up, and I'm like, it's a great thing for everybody to go through.
that. Hmm.
And I've already listed a couple commitments I'm working on that I need to back away from. Instead of doing maybe 34 hours for an organization, maybe back it down to 5 or 10 hours a month instead, right?
Hmm.
So where do we need to back things off to? So love those suggestions, Karen. So good.
And I love that challenge you just said, Becca. That's a great one to actually make the list of what I'm going to try to eliminate or cut back on. It's
Mm-hmm.
good.
Because if we don't, are we actually going to do it then?
Exactly. Oh, yes. When we put things in writing, it takes on a whole life of its own. Yeah.
And I'll take it another step further. We need to tell somebody
Mhm.
what we're not going to do more of. Like, all right, this is what I'm owning. So tell somebody, tell a friend, tell a colleague, tell somebody that like, hey, this is where I'm backing off from. Hold me accountable to these things.
Yes, especially as you said, if it's a coach or somebody that will actually call you out on it. Hey, I thought you said you weren't going to do that anymore. Oh man.
I thought you were going to back down. Oh yeah, I did say that, didn't I? Yep, you did. You did. How are you doing with that?
Yeah,
Right?
absolutely.
So, Karen, I would love to know, how do you help yourself find balance? What's your self-care like? Because I know you probably live how you preach too.
I do.
What are some of the ways that you take care of yourself?
I try to start my day, and I don't try actually. I do start my day where I can kind of set myself up for success. There was a time when the first thing I would do is reach for the phone, and
Mm.
I can't remember the last time I did that or turned on a TV. So I start my day because our thoughts create our reality and our words are powerful. I start my day with a clear intention of, oh, this is going to be a good day. And it doesn't have to be overly dramatic, it doesn't have to be long and drawn out. You do it whatever way is going to make it happen versus some long, drawn out morning routine that's not ever going to happen. I start my day with intention. I declare it's going to be a good day. Gratitude is huge for me, having a gratitude practice. It doesn't have to be long. I prefer to write it down, just the things I'm grateful for, 5 things that I'm grateful for now, and then 5 things that I'm grateful for that haven't arrived yet. Um, and then I always have something on in the background, whether it's a podcast or an audible, a book. Um, so I'm always kind of infusing positivity and kind of forward thinking into my mind all day. I avoid negative. I don't like to complain. I don't like to. So, all of those things I see as self care, um, simple things that sound simple, but sometimes for me it's a task, making sure I stay hydrated and then fueling my body. I have a healthy diet, some sort of movement in the morning, even if it's just stretching. Honestly, that one I
Yeah.
just don't always incorporate.
I had a I had a friend who just told me, and I heard about him. They just came into. They're about 6 miles away from me. Have you heard of the Stretch Lab yet?
I have not.
Okay,
What
so
is
I
it?
guess this is a nationwide franchise, and it's a company. They've got physical therapists and different people. You go, you have a membership, and they actually do slow stretching of your entire body. So
Ooh.
it's like almost like Pilates, but on steroids, where they're actually doing the stretching for
Ah,
you.
that sounds good.
And I had a colleague who just started and said, he doesn't do dry needling anymore, doesn't do the chiropractor anymore, and doesn't do massage. He just goes to the stretch lab now. And he says it's a game changer. So you mentioned stretching, and I'm like, wonder if you've heard about the stretch lab yet.
I'm going to be checking that out when we get off our
I was doing
call.
my research yesterday too. I was like, okay. I was thinking, okay, how do I fit this in my schedule? When can I do this? Right? Like I was trying to think, okay, because I got to pick that up from school and take him to school. And I'm like, okay, where can I fit this in? How does this work? Because it sounds amazing.
Yeah, and that would be part of your self-care.
That's right.
Yes.
That's right. And I love your morning routine. I think people don't have good morning routines, and then it just sets you up for failure for the rest of the day.
Yes.
I'm with you 100%. No phone and no TV in the morning.
Mm-hmm.
Like um, I get ready. I get my son ready for school, right? And on the way to school, we do prayer time together in the mornings. So I'll say a prayer as he's because my mom did that with my brother and sister because I always rode the bus, but they got taken to school. Uh, and I've done journaling in the past, devotions. I think if you can fill your mind with the positive stuff like you're talking about, that I mean, then you really do create a gratitude and abundance mindset all day.
Absolutely. Your thoughts are powerful and your words are powerful.
I have a hard time um, even thinking about throwing on the news first thing in the morning. I'm like, I don't want the negativity. I don't, and I know so many people do.
Mhm.
My parents did because they wanted to know the weather and what was happening.
Yeah.
And I'm like, anymore, I'm like, I don't want the negative in my life. So I love your morning routine. So good.
Yeah, it definitely works. And it doesn't, like I said, it doesn't have to be complicated and long. I know people are busy, but just fueling your mind with some good stuff right out of the gates is huge.
It's massive. So, what would be your three, if you could boil it down, what are the top three pieces of advice that you would give anybody looking to grow personally, professionally? What would be the three big areas you would, or three pieces of advice you would give people?
I would say to slow down for a moment to really take a look at your life and become aware of where you are. What are the things that you love? What are the things that you don't love? And then, second, quieting your mind a little so that you can listen to that inner voice. Because we all have that still quiet, maybe still
Mm,
small voice that's telling
yeah,
us what to do next, or maybe telling you that you're meant for something bigger or something maybe not even bigger, but different. And all too often, we don't listen to that voice. Either we hear it and ignore it, or we're so busy in our lives and doing that we don't even hear it. So, but there is a little voice in there that will speak to you. I don't know if it's your soul, it's God, it's whatever you
right.
feel, some divine energy, um, but it's in there. So to listen to that and then be willing to be uncomfortable, be willing or at least open to doing things different from how you're doing it now. Because if nothing changes, then nothing changes. So being willing and at least open to change, doing things differently, maybe being a little uncomfortable, knowing that the beauty or the power or the strength is on the other side. I think that,
Oh, amazing advice. So good. Well, Karen, I just want to thank you for coming on today, being a part of Talk with Coach. So, thank you so much for just joining us today. I appreciate you so much.
oh, thank you so much for having me. I absolutely love this conversation. It's fun. I could talk
Yes,
about this stuff all day.
I know, me too. So, thank you guys so much. And everybody, this wraps up another insightful episode with Talk with Coach. A huge thank you to Karen for sharing such valuable, knowledgeable, and just insights and lessons from her incredible journey. If today's episode resonates with you, or if you have a burning question or a topic you would like us to cover in the future, We'd love to hear from you. Make sure to subscribe to the podcast on YouTube, Spotify, or wherever you listen. Until next time, remember every step forward is part of your success story. Keep striving for greatness, keep learning, and don't forget your journey is just beginning. Until next time, have a blessed day, everybody.